Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 4 of the Alma Mater University chess tournament. My name's Joe, and as I said, this is round 4. This is the second annual time they've done this event. This is live from Università di Bologna in Italy. We've got 18 universities competing, and we have games underway. It's 45-minute plus 10-second increment time control, 4 versus 4 team format, and it is a 5-round Swiss, so this is the penultimate round. I'm very excited to see the games being played out today. Hello and welcome to everyone. Yeah, it's an early morning for me here in the States. And again, I'm counting my blessings not being on the West Coast, as it would be 6 a.m. out there. Only 8 a.m. for me today, which is not as early as the last morning round I did yesterday, which was at 7:30 in the morning. But nonetheless, we've got games. So let's actually try to tune into this top board if I can. Let me see if we can get a closer look. Here you see the playing hall. But let's see if we can look at this this top board here. So it looks like we've got this is Dr. Seal, international master from Germany, competing against a FIDE master, Joshua. The end of that name trips me up. But a FIDE master from Italy. And yeah, we've honestly seen this international masters struggle earlier in this tournament. In round 2, they lost to a 1600 from Dublin, down a bishop in a rook and bishop versus rook endgame. And they were roughly 20 moves from the 50 move rule. So in theory, it was holdable, but in practice, it proved difficult. I know I am not booked up on my rook and bishop versus rook endgame. But here we see Dr. Seal getting the bishop in, attacking white's queen, inducing a potential weakness, f3, being pushed. Dr. Seal the deal. That's a great nickname. Also, shout out to Mind Blowing Chess, first in chat, Bishop Stars, Uncle Jesse, Chelato. No, this is not in my mansion. I am not so generous with my mansion. Although Uncle Jesse has seen my mansion. So if you have any questions, you can ask her about how luxurious it is. So yeah. And to call it my mansion, really, it's more like my roommate's mansion, if I'm being honest with all of you. And I like to think that I am an honest man. It's better. Well, you can see behind me, I don't have as many books. I do have some books, like this book, which was written by an author who was a professor at Oxford, which is competing in this tournament, actually. I could potentially even pull up one of their games. But it looks like we've actually got quite an interesting matchup here if we can look at some of the other games happening. This is a match between two titled players. Christopher Shen, representing the US of A, they go to Harvard. And their opponent, Renesh, they go to Cambridge, which is the rival of Oxford. And both of these players are board ones, and also both of these players are captains. So that's a very exciting matchup. Looks like we've got another, I guess, Harvard versus Cambridge match here, perhaps. Maybe I should look up the players just to make sure. If you guys wanted to check out the events page yourselves and find the players and their teams, you can go to that link in the chat. Thank you, Light Seeker, for the follow. So let me pull up the team listing here. Yeah, there's a player, Frederico, who's not listed, I believe. But yeah, this is Harvard versus Cambridge. Very exciting. Let me know in the chat who you're rooting for. I think I have to stick to my home country. I've never visited the UK, but I heard that that's where Cambridge is. Go America. Hello, Curavox. I am Joe. Joe is me. Okay, we've got a team from Turkey competing. Turkey is extremely underrated, as we've seen. They've taken down much stronger opponents, so their ratings are probably deflated, as opposed to my rating, which is inflated. The difference is that they are strong players, and I have a long ways to go. I'm still climbing the ranks. We're working our way up. Do American grandmasters usually come out from top universities too? That's a great question. I know a couple years ago, University of Chicago had two grandmasters. One of them you might have heard of, Awonder Leong, and the other you also should have heard of, named Praveen Balakrishnan. Now, most recently, Yale had two grandmasters. One of them is Nicholas Cheka, and the other one, I think, is like, I should have known this. Hold on. I blanked on it the last time I mentioned it, and I should have looked it up then and there. So I'm gonna right my wrong from the past and do that right now. Actually, let me see if I can find a quick. Okay, that didn't help me. It's okay. Arthur Guo. So interestingly, Yale actually posted on their Instagram about their two grandmasters. Let me see if I can go back and find it and share it. maybe not the best use of my time. Master Chess Dojo, thank you for the raid. Welcome in. Welcome one and welcome all. I appreciate that. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you had a great stream. And I welcome you to the Alma Mater University Chess Tournament. This is round 4 out of 5. So there will be one more tournament or round of the tournament after this one. That's going to be tomorrow morning at 2:30 a.m. Central Time, which is 3:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So if you're up at that hour, congratulations. You're in store for a treat. Okay, I've somehow found this post. I just want to share it with you guys. If you guys want to see, someone asked about the top American grandmasters and what universities they go to, because this is a university event. And the reason why I wanted to bring up Yale is because they're actually competing in this event. And I had mentioned that they had 2 grandmasters competing on their team just last year in the Collegiate Chess League. However, I don't see either of them. I do know that Nicholas Cheka has graduated, last I heard. So that would make sense why he's not competing. However, I'm not sure if Arthur Guo graduated or not. But I do see the Yale team is competing here against one of the Dutch teams. So Jake Wong here is from Yale. We also have their teammate, Nicholas Wojnar. I'm not sure. Yale is the McGill of Canada. Wait. You mean the McGill of the US, maybe? Each state had a team. That's very cool. I might have heard of that. Your country got a first grandmaster in its history like last month. Kiravox, what country are you from? You misheard. Oh. Yes, I am curious as well. Looks like we've got an early advantage here from Iman Kearney, who I believe is the 1600 who took down International Master Dr. Seal. Yo Lee Tian from Malaysia. Oh, congrats. That's awesome. Malaysia actually has had a team compete in the Collegiate Chess League. I believe it's Asia Pacific University, which you may have heard of. So the Collegiate Chess League has over 30 countries represented. This tournament is very international as well. I'm not sure how many countries, but if I could just list off the top of my head, they have the US, they have the UK, they have Ireland, they have the Netherlands, Germany, France, they have Italy, of course, and they have Turkey, and they also have Japan. So that's 9 that I've just listed. I'm not sure if they have a full 10, but they might be awfully close. So I'm not sure if I missed anyone. Ooh, maybe Uzbekistan. There's a school, Samarkand State University, named after Shah of Rashidov. Their website is .uz, which makes me feel like it's from Uzbekistan. So that would be a 10th country. But I don't think I've seen, maybe they don't have their flags uploaded. So, like for this matchup, for example, I can see the players from Japan and Ireland. Andrew Brennan here with the black pieces. Looks like they should be winning a pawn. Which is pretty good for the Irish. In this matchup, they don't have the flags, but I think they're from the same teams. Yeah, hopefully Malaysia will have even more interest. Tips to enjoy watching classical. Felt like it takes very long for each move. I think it helps if you're invested in the player or the outcome. For example, in this sort of event, this isn't really even like true classical. It's 45-minute. Like usually classical is at least 90-minute. But if you're a fan of one of these schools, then that helps. Something to root for. I think if you're from Malaysia, maybe there's a Malaysian player or team that you want to root for. Like I mentioned, they compete in the Collegiate Chess League, but the Collegiate Chess League is Blitz, which is maybe easier for you to follow along compared to classical. But I think watching like Magnus, or the World Championship matches, those are always very exciting, entertaining. There's always drama, right, of the certain matchups. Like you have sometimes Hikaru versus Alareza. Um, Regardless of the time control they're competing, there's some sort of rivalry, so to speak, or like anyone versus Magnus, really. But if you're not watching Magnus, you're not watching, someone from your country or a school that you're invested in or a player that you want to follow along, then there's still other ways that you can get into it. You can ask yourself, like, what are the best moves here? What are the candidate moves? Maybe the commentator is someone that you're a fan of, or maybe you can try to challenge yourself to find what moves you would play and what moves that the commentators are talking about versus the moves that they actually play in the game. Another thing, like if you don't have the time or the energy to watch a classical game live, there's so many recap channels that will cover. I think Agadma Tour is one of the most popular examples. Gotham Chess seems to be putting out tons of recap videos. There's recap videos uh, from Jerry from the Chess Network, who I'm a big fan of personally. And I think those are really great ways to sort of follow along with the classical games and digest them in a shorter time frame if you don't have the time to sit down and watch a whole classical match. So hopefully that answers your question. You could bet on the games too. Yeah, exactly. Okay, this is a mistake here. From the Irish player, this just blunders a pawn and one. I feel like we've seen a move like this from Phoebe recently in one of her games at Maya. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like a knight move. Why didn't white play rook to b1? That's a great question. Yeah, these players, they don't have ratings listed. Um, but I believe this is a player from Dublin versus a player from Japan. So yeah, here's the real reason, you guys. They're going after the h7 pawn. So that looks like a free pawn. We can get this pawn, but then the problem is the bishop's attacking this pawn, attacking this knight. So if we come back here, for example, okay, they just go here. They're defending their pawn. It's a miss. They probably should have taken here because black had follow-up threats, right? To take here, to take here. So if I was pointing out, if we bring the bishop back here to defend this pawn, they can take here and double isolate our pawns in front of our king. And yeah, as mentioned by Master Chess Dojo, the center pawn is more valuable than the side pawn. I think it always will depend on the position, but the main point of this value of the pawn versus this value of the pawn is that it enables this bishop to activate right on the main diagonal of the board, in the center of the board. Like I mentioned, creating threats, right? This bishop, their eyes just open up to the rest of the position. Whereas currently this pawn wall is blocking out this bishop. So I think that is maybe the most of the opportunity missed by not taking the pawn and instead playing a more defensive move. That being said, black retains the threat. This queen certainly should move, though, off of this file to unpin their c-pawn and renew the defense of the d-pawn. So pawns are valuable regardless of where they are, and perhaps shouldn't be tossed aside so easily. So we'll see if Ivan movie. No. Okay, they're attacking the rook. This makes sense to create a threat. This is being active in the defense. So this rook should move now. Now, if the queen does move here, we're lining ourselves up for a potential fork. It doesn't work immediately because the bishop is here, but you could see black challenge the bishop, and then the bishop would have to come to e4, blocking black's pawn. If the bishop tucks back, then e4 would come at a fork. So the queen maybe isn't too comfortable on the c file, but also has to watch out where it goes next. So there's maybe the b file, maybe we go to d2 or e2. Depends where this rook goes, right? If the rook goes to the b file, we also don't want to go to the b file. Maybe we could stay on the c file. If the rook stays on the c file, then we have to make sure we keep an eye out for this c4 pawn. So coming to the b file would put pressure on the bishop. If we leave to the d file, we could leave this pawn hanging. So maybe we want to go to e2 or the b file. And as I mentioned, d3 is, we got to watch out. And we can't go to e4 because of the knight. And that's kind of the thought process here. When you're looking at the position, you're looking at what the threats are, right? The threat is that we're taking the rook. So that's why I'm expecting the rook to move, which it does. And then we were contemplating where the rook could go, right? So either the b file, which is where it would be still relatively active, or it steps up to c7, keeping pressure on this pawn and keeping the pin on that pawn to the queen and renewing black's threat of taking on d5. They couldn't take on d5 a move prior because their rook was hanging. So save the rook first, renew the threat, and now this is where white has to react. And we were talking about this being an interesting square because there's possibilities of getting forked on e4. It's covered by the bishop currently, but this is where you see your position is dependent on certain pieces. So this bishop could get attacked, right, with this move g6. And that currently is the best move in the position because of this threat of e4. So better move, instead of queen on d3, was actually queen to e2, which I had looked at. This is defending the pawn as well as getting off the c file, right? d3 does the same thing. It gets off the c file and it still defends the pawn, but the difference is now g3 causes us to lose this bishop. We have to go to e4. Whereas if we had gone queen to e2 and g6 happens, the bishop can come back somewhere safer, and we're not worried about e4 being a fork. And black has played g6. So this is a slightly faster pace than your usual classical time control, but all of these moves that we're seeing being played out on the board are moves that we have predicted because of the logic, the flow of the threats, right, where the pieces are going, and the possibilities that come with those moves options. So we predicted g6. We predicted bishop e4. Now, why is this move less than ideal? It's because the knight can take, queen takes, and now the f-pawn can even start rolling an attack on the king side. Yeah, if the bishop comes back on this diagonal, then the pawn is defended by the knight and forks the queen and the knight. That's why queen d3 was not the best move. Better was queen to e2, so that we're not worried about getting forked by the pawn. So here, the best move, the computer doesn't actually want to take. The computer prefers something else, like knight d7. And the reason for that is because, as I had mentioned, if the knight takes, now the pawn can push to f5, but better than taking the bishop was actually just moving the knight somewhere else. And we're still threatening f5, and notice that bishop's getting trapped. So black could have gotten a lot of space advantage by not trading, but they decided to trade. So they're cashing out their knight for the light squared bishop. The computer would have played it slightly different, but again, f5 I think is a candidate move here. Now, that being said, it could potentially end up being a weakening move of this king, but they've gone for it anyways. We've predicted every move so far in this game, and it's not a superpower. I'm not reading the players' minds. I'm just looking at the pieces on the chessboard and getting in this flow of understanding what moves to expect will help you in your games. When you're playing, you can try and predict the moves that your opponent will play, and that will help you decide what moves you want to play. So notice now the queen goes to e2. We're still keeping an eye on this pawn. It's hard to defend this pawn otherwise, right? If you go to c2, we have that same problem we ran into earlier, where we're now in the pin. And if we go to d3, then you're getting forked by the pawns. So that's why e2 is played. It's the most logical move. Hi, Destrin. Knight d7 is impossible to find, though. I disagree with that. I think that seeing f5 makes a lot of sense. So moving the knight makes sense. Knight d7 was one of those knight moves. Now, that being said, I do think taking the bishop is much more logical, for sure. Okay, so queen steps up. What does this tell me? This tells me that the queen now has access to a4. What's queen a4 doing? That's a fork. It's attacking two things at one time. So that is what I would consider to be a threat. Now, the best reaction to this would be to go for activity. So what we want to do is we want to develop our pieces still. So we want to take the b file, essentially. This allows us to put pressure on a bishop, which is only defended by the rook. So the queen cannot take advantage of this pawn if the bishop is hanging. That being said, we still have to react to this threat. We have then rook to b3 lift, defending the bishop and keeping pressure on their bishop. So rook to b1 is a very good move here. Now we can't play knight takes e5. There's some interesting ideas. But okay. Very, very instructive game so far, I think. But let's take a look at some of the other games. Ooh, you guys. Board 1 here. If I bring us back, okay, looks like Dr. Seal has just made a move, moving the rook off the e file. Let's take a few steps back. Let's see how this game started and progressed. We have a perk defense, a Pierce, some would say. Here is an invitation to trade queens. Black says, let's just go into the endgame already. White says, no, I'll just develop my pieces. We'll leave the queens on the board. Okay, so we have a fianchetto. We have f3. This is the last that we saw. Knight gets hit. Knight moves. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. So we have doubled pawns here for white. Queen steps over. Pressure on the pawn opposite this king, which is exposed because of the f-pawn push. We have b3, saving the b-pawn, which we don't want our bishop to be babysitting forever. Pawn push in the center. Bishop puts pressure on the knight, which is defending the pawn. I'm curious if we can go ahead and take this immediately, but apparently it doesn't quite work, or you don't want to put yourself into this pin, perhaps. It's very interesting. What is wrong with this move? Maybe tactically speaking. Knight takes. Does our rook hang at the end? Yes. Discovery fork. So our queen is overloaded, right? We have to make sure our rook is defended, so we don't take the bait. Instead, okay, hitting the queen, exposing the rook, pawn push, knight comes in now, opens that up. So yeah, these C and F pawn pushes, these are pawns that I recommend not touching during bug house, because it's super weakening. Here, rook to f2, saving the rook, saving the queen. Knight to f2 was a fork, a royal fork at that. And now the bishop steps in. White's taken on c4 just now. And now d takes, and the computer's reading -4, which is incredible. If you just look at the amount of moves that black has versus the amount of moves that white has, it's very scary how this knight is under attack, only defended by the queen. So that really gives the queen just one square to use. The rooks, maybe you could go to the b file, but you can't go here. So there's only one move for this rook, one move for this queen. This rook has no moves, because if you go here, you're getting forked. You're actually getting smother mated. That's not just any fork, that's a smothered mate. So you're one move away from getting mated. If you go here, well, you're losing your queen, in 2 different ways. And if you go here, it's a free rook and queen. So yeah, white is exhausting their very limited amount of moves currently. Now, how do you get this knight out of here? This is a amazing piece, right? On an outpost, we have no pawns that could kick this knight away. This knight can't go here because of the bishop and knight. You can't go here. This knight has no moves without being consumed. So yeah, that we've made the 1 rook move, and like I mentioned, we have 1 queen move to make. Other than that, I mean, this bishop has 1 move, which is not good because we need to stay on this diagonal. This bishop, I mean, maybe we just take this. And now, yeah, we're opposite here. So, this is a major threat, right? The computer's saying you could play queen c2. That's that 1 move that our queen can make. F4 is an idea. That is an idea. So let's see. What can black do now? It wants queen d7, pressure on this pawn. Yeah, queen d7 I'm taking here, I think. But it just wants g4. Ah, this is almost too logical. The knight that I said has no moves. Why not attack it, right? It's making a lot of sense. So they say knights on the rim are grim. So all the way back here, when you push this b pawn, you create dark square weaknesses, right? And black takes the center, and now they push with the discovery. But this opens up the bishop. Notice they had 2 pawns in the way. Now, just like that, this bishop opens up, and this is an annoying pin. You have to defend the knight, or if you try to get out of this pin, guess what? You're putting the knight on the edge, hitting the queen. In this position, if we tried this, doesn't work because you lose the exchange. However, we had this idea. Knight takes. They could take here, I guess. And then we take here. And then they take here. And it wants f4 here. So if I take this, then they have f6. f4. And this is what the computer preferred. Black's going to get the bishop back, and they'll be up in exchange. But we've won a pawn out of it, I guess. Anywho, that was all missed. This is the time to take on f6. Otherwise, knight a4, and this knight is going to get trapped in the long run. So, yeah, this was not a good move because of knight to d3. A beautiful move taking advantage of the c-pawn push, creating a hole in the position and outpost. And you can see slowly but surely, yeah, this knight just is always at risk. So, great squeeze, positional squeeze from the doctor's seal here. So we see this knight now. We have to give up an exchange to minimize our damage, our material lost. And this is the live position here. Queen to c5 now played. 3-on-2, majority on the outside in the long run. This queen stepping away from this diagonal. g4, this bishop now blocked in by a lot of pawns. Maybe we'll see f4. Yeah, that's a pin defending this pawn in a way. Rook's doubled. Queen stepping over, pressure on the f pawn. So yeah, I guess at some point they did take on f6. Yeah, here. The idea was what exactly? Oh, if queen takes, we have rook takes pawn. So white does damage black's kingside pawn structure slightly and is causing a risk here. But for the most part, black should be able to convert this. Sealing the deal, exactly. Yeah, f3 and c3, major weaknesses for sure. So yeah, and tons of time left on the clock. Maybe Josh played a little too fast. Josh Wade. Okay, tripled up here. Alyekin's gun, if I'm not mistaken. I suppose you could try trading down, right? And this pawn should be swallowed up shortly. This pawn will be a connected passer. So this is going to be a victory for the doctor, almost assuredly. Okay. I have a feeling they've actually, I don't know. Something tells me they have the names swapped, but I don't know. What do I know? It's a good question. F4 G5. The computer actually likes that idea. The computer says you could actually just play G5 immediately, which is also kind of fun. The names are right. Okay, so you know them. Because I was like watching the game the other day where he was playing against the 1600. But I'm like, I don't know. Okay. Some of the names have been wrong. They've had like this guy named Lars Nober play like 9 different boards at the same time, including one game against himself. You Google Dr. Seal. Okay, so Dr. Seal is crushing on that board, and their teammate Niels Heldenberg looks like they're also winning. So this is looking to be a good match for the Germans. So let's check on Niels' game. Niels, we've got a Sicilian, I believe in Nydorf. King on D2. Wow. What's happening here? What is this move? They wanted to play here. They decided to get this pawn storm. For the knight. But now the computer really likes bishop to c5. Yeah. I wonder if there was, I guess there's contemplation on taking here. Computer even likes bishop taking on f4, which makes a lot of sense. He didn't see it was covered. The FIDE master? Probably not. Yeah, the Italian broadcast is looking at this same move as well, but this is a creative idea, I would say. The idea is that they wanted the bishop discovery, and they wanted the strong. I mean, their justification is that these pawns are really active. I guess the king is exposed. But was it worth the piece, though? That is the question. Tough to say, always. The game's not over, for sure. And also, Niels is getting into time pressure. 17. I mean, it's a 9-minute advantage. So that's something to think about as well. Okay. The other games seem to be fairly even according to the engine. The next team matchup, you've got Sweden, which I forgot to count. So I think that's 11 countries. And they're playing against an Italian team. And then we've got Cambridge, like I mentioned. Then it looks like we've got a French matchup against Italy. And oh man, we already have a result from the Harvard. Wait, not Harvard. I think that's Cambridge. Or it is Harvard. I think Adolfo goes to Harvard. I think this is an early point for Harvard versus Cambridge. So the Harvard player with the white pieces. We have a Sicilian, an open Sicilian. Trade of knights, castle. Whoa, knight a4 to play c4. Trade. Ooh, f5, bishop f4. Queen over, queen back, a5, rook to the open d file. Rook lift, rook doubled, bishop to e5. And now just rook here, right? No, oh, the queen just trapped herself. Oh my goodness. Crazy is it likes rook d7 best. It's, or it likes a3. It just likes this move. Queen a3. What? It says knight b6. And I mean, poor queen. The rook is hit. You can't go here. Here, maybe knight d7. Queen e5. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's not like you're losing instantly, but you're losing a lot quickly. Whether or not that's a big distinction, I'll let you guys decide. But Black said, I don't want to play this position anymore. I'm going to call it an early day. So he said, I'm not playing with my queen on a3 or on a2. I'm just going to resign here. So yeah, I mean, this was already a tough position. Lots of pawn moves, I'd say, for Black, right? This position is actually still even, relatively. Computer even gives a slight edge to Black with the move bishop to d6. That's coming at a tempo. Black just throwing pawns up. Like, I don't know. These moves allow white to double rooks on the d file, right? Like, what is the queen doing here? I don't know. I could, like, backwards move, another pawn push. Black doesn't seem to have a coherent plan, whereas white, every move was focused on an objective of just improvement, right? Development. And now here, he already knows the queen has nowhere to go. Bishop to c3, it's a humiliating move to react to, putting your queen on an even goofier square. And yeah, I mean, putting the pawn on c5 really just kind of entombing your own queen with your own pieces, right? I mean, this is back-to-back moves. Back to back to back. I mean, putting the queen here, putting the pawn here, putting the bishop here. It's like black's objective was to ensnare their own queen, and white obliged them. And that is an early result. 31 minutes left on the clock. And yeah, Adolfo has earned their rest for the day. This is the last round of today. Next round being tomorrow, and the final round as well. So yeah, nice result there. Okay, speaking of early games, Dr. Christian Seal won their game, so they also sealed the deal. So queen over, we did see f4, we do see g5, we do see the pawn grabbed, the rooks traded, queen check, king over defending, king over here, rook here is coming very soon. If you go bishop here, guess what? You're getting, oh no, that's not a thing. I guess just here, nonetheless. What else? What else could I be thinking? I don't know, guys. They didn't want to try either anymore. So, yeah, I'm surprised how fast they played. They have so much time left on the clock. This is an amount of time that you would see like maybe less experienced players leave on their clock, because that just means they didn't think as much as maybe they should have. That's a lot of time for a 45-minute game. They didn't even use half the clock. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty fast. It's like playing with time odds, basically. But maybe they agreed before and they're like, hey, well, let's just get this over with, you know. So who knows? Um, no, I mean, yeah, black played well, right? Like they got the job done. White, I can't say the same. So yeah, look at this beautiful tripled pawns here. Okay. So that's 2 games with results. So yeah, Harvard has a point against Cambridge, but there are some other games still going on. There's a game that is not loading between those 2 teams, so that's interesting. Here we have Cambridge fighting back, Lucas against Emily. I think we watched Emily lose a game in an earlier round, and it looks like this isn't going too well for her either. Okay, every game has been like an open Sicilian. There's only been like 1 Pierce. Okay, so it doesn't like e5 because this bishop is hanging. That bishop was an important defender. So that is black saying thank you for a free pawn. White says, all right, well, I'll get a free pawn too. I guess, what did it like better? It likes rook to b4. Very interesting. Okay. So white says, hey, we're still even on pawns, all right. Now this knight is put under question, as well as the a pawn. So the bishop comes back. This pawn also is just, I don't know. Something about it. There it goes. Pawn push. Knight comes in. Bishop takes that. Black has not pre-moved taking back for some reason. But now they do. And now, what does it want? It likes Next rook a1. h4 is kind of interesting, I guess. But yeah, Lucas is just up a pawn. So let's see. This looked like a free pawn, but it wasn't. This ended up being the free pawn. So that was too difficult for Emily to defend. Emily's also about to get below 10 minutes on the clock, which is not great when your opponent has over 20. So let me see if I can get us a better view because those players have left. Let's dig this view. We can see the playing hall. Again, just a beautiful venue. I'm sure the campus is great as well. I don't really know where the city is in relation to Italy. I do know where Italy is. So, trying to make Americans look good. Just feel like I know where Italy is. I've never been there, but I'd love to visit. I'd like to go. Apparently, they have a city there that's called Rome. I've heard of that. I heard that it wasn't built in one day, which is probably true for most cities, I would assume. But Rome is special. Rome, I think, is also known as the Immortal City. So that's probably where they played the Immortal game. You just got back from Rome on Sunday. How was it? Did you play an Italian game? Did you have a pizza? It was pretty cool. That's what I figured. I think that's where the movie Gladiator took place. So that's how I know about it. Anyways, I heard that's where they invented numerals. It kind of sucks compared to America. Yeah, dude. Give me a slice of Emo's pizza. Where are my St. Louisans at? It's all crust. Okay. Yeah, I went to the Netherlands and we went to like some pizza chain there and they didn't even cut the pizza. I had to cut my own pizza. Ridiculous. It's a lot of work. Cuz they don't give you a pizza cutter either. They just give you a fork and a knife. And they don't even give you free water. You have to pay extra for water. I'm like, this is ridiculous. You Desha knows what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we've had a couple moves. Let's see. Queen f3 now. And yeah, just like bishop e5 back on the main diagonal. They have free water in Rome. Yeah, now I understand the appeal. Because the other Europeans, they don't get that. Um, no bathrooms. It's conflicting. Actually, I think I saw that at the Amsterdam train station as well. You have to pay to use the bathroom. Okay. There's a lot of games that we have not looked at all, so you're going to the woods. Okay. I kind of want to look at. We've got. This game might be wrapping up soon. Ireland versus Japan. So it likes black. Yeah, again, we see this knight h5 idea, this bishop being put into question here. So yeah, this blunders a pawn. Trading down. So yeah, black just comfortably up a pawn. Here we've got Ivan Mooney versus Yashun. Yeah, we were looking at this game as well. Some suboptimal moves here. Queen does come to a4, so white decided to defend this pawn. Defend this bishop. Trade of queens. So black definitely had better at some point. H-file, king takes, rook check, king up, check, king back, bishop back. So the rook has no entrance. The king is in time to defend. I'm surprised there's no push, maybe. Knight back, trying to keep pieces on. I guess the knight's coming here. Computer does not like this move. It likes knight c3 now. What did it like better? Bishop to c8. Very interesting. But yeah, knight c3. Very, very sound. And the threat really is, if you look at this pawn, what's going to end up happening is that you will have to defend this pawn with the bishop, and then the rook can now enter and put pressure on the bishop, and just overall just be a pest. I guess if the bishop came here, then you can come here, and that keeps this knight out. The knight wants to go to a4 to attack the rook, which is defending the pawn. So white has something to play for here, and Ivan is setting themselves up for success. Hi, Halvard. The pasta's good. The buildings, the art, yeah. I think just seeing the Colosseum alone is probably worth the trip. But also, I think like other cities would be cool to see, like Venice and Florence. Just the touristy ones that I know of, that I've heard of before. Other than that, I don't know where else to visit in Italy. I mean, there's Sicily. But like, what do you do in Sicily? I guess I heard Phoebe visited and hiked a volcano. So that's cool. If you could just visit one, pick Florence. Yeah. I think of countries that I want to visit, I would probably go to Japan. So I can hang out with Yashun. Just kidding. I don't know any of these players really. I mean, the only player that I recognized going into this event was my fellow American, Christopher Shen, who we've worked with before. We actually had Christopher Shen uh, on a chess.com broadcast in a series called Kids versus Stars. We had, I think, Alice Lee, and I mean, maybe it was Tawny. I don't know. We had two child prodigies play against Christopher Shin and Jennifer Yu, who was Chris's teammate at Harvard at the time. So two Harvard titled players against two child prodigies, and the kids just destroyed them. Like it was like I think they were able to get like 1 point out of the whole match. To my memory, it was bad. Uh, but yeah, Jennifer Yu, famous chess player, also from Harvard. So Chris and Jennifer, I know, have been teammates. And yeah, Chris is taking space here. He's got his two knights in the center. He's now pushed f5. You've beat Tani, Halvard. Very nice. Okay, I see two games that are wrapping up here. Here's one of them. Aaron Saunders, I believe, from Cambridge. No, this could be Oxford, actually. This guy's about to flag. 5 seconds. He's checked. I mean, it's rook and knight versus nothing. So probably pretty good for black here. Congrats to Aaron Saunders. Yeah, that is Oxford getting a point. So they're probably setting up the pieces, presumably. We've got this game here. Andrea Rosa. That's what we call a fork, so that's pretty good. Let's go back and see. Just a pawn push blunder. Classic. Yeah, the old b5, knight c6, and now think for a very long time and contemplate your life decisions that led to this moment. Do I take the knight now, or do I move my queen and lose my rook later? Tough decisions. So yes, now there must be knight takes rook. Otherwise, what are you doing? Thanks for the material. Here we've got an international master from Italy taking on a French player. 3 wins, 2 draws, and 8 losses. That's not bad. In fact, against a player of such caliber, I would go as far as to say that it's quite good, actually. I don't think I've ever beaten Tani. I don't know if I've ever played Tani. But, okay, this game, not so much time for the Italian. Let's see, we've got another Sicilian. But we have c3 this time. So that's one of my favorite move preferences. So here, what happens if we take this pawn? Queen here is just a fork. That checks out. Okay. So we push, we develop, we kick the knight out. We save our bishop again. g4, white's going for it. Rook lift, f6, g5, h4, a4. Bishop a3 I like. And now f5. What a move. What a move. The knight is pinned, the pawn is pinned, and we have 2 defenders, only really 1 attacker. So marvelous. Threatening the fork, threatening the pawn. Great move here. Takes, bishop takes, pressure on e6, bishop defends. Rook lifts, computer doesn't like so much, but I get the idea, you know? Yeah. Queen gets out of both pins at the same time, renewing the threat on the bishop. So what did the computer like better here? Knight to g4. Okay. So knight g4, perhaps missed. Rook lift instead, and now it's white's turn. So the computer likes sacrificing because the queen is overloaded, defending two things at one time. So if we take here, the king also is overloaded, defending two things at once. Presumably, black takes the piece that we've so graciously sacrificed for them. And then we will follow up by taking this knight. And that knight will distract the queen from defending this bishop, which is now free for our rook to take. So it's a discovery tactic. It's a deflection tactic. It's grabbing a pawn. And it's the best move, according to the engine. Next, otherwise, you got to save the bishop. So you come back somewhere. Where? It's up to you. You can go to h3 as well or something. Probably you stay on this diagonal. Probably you stay on this diagonal because you want to point to the king. Right. That's exactly right. I don't know what I was thinking. You know, the king is more important than the queen. Okay, but in all seriousness, though, the computer didn't like this, as you can tell by the question mark. And the computer now says bishop to h5. So this bishop is freed because of our lack of pressure. If we kept the bishop on one of these two squares, or mainly on this diagonal, the bishop could never leave because we're threatening bishop takes Forktown, population France, because they're from France. Okay, we didn't do that. And now this bishop can move. Okay, knight goes here. Big X. Knight g4, computer says. What else does it say? I'm thinking a rook move, honestly. Get this rook involved somewhere, you know? Where to? I don't know. This knight doesn't have any forward moves. Obviously, we could take if we want, but we don't. Knight g4 has been played, the best move in the position. Now this bishop has a very important job of not letting the knight in. But maybe we do it anyways. Get a pawn here, open the g file, get a bishop here. Life could be good. Anyways, only 3.5 minutes for the International Masters, 17 for the French player. Okay. We have a draw on board 2 of Germany versus Italy. There are 2 Italian players named Tommaso. One of them was from the host university, Tommaso Marzocchi. This player is Tommaso Bergamasco, playing against Mikhail Bodicki, who's a candidate master. But Tommaso is higher rated, 2100, but 2:45 on the clock to 13 minutes. White's given a slight preference. Backwards pawn, active rook. But black has a bishop pair. White, I guess, is up a point of material. So what is it? There's 3 minor pieces for both sides, but an extra pawn for white. So white technically has a pass pawn. So white has that advantage. Oh, here's the other Tommaso. So the host university is playing against Sweden. We've got 2 titled players here. Italy with the black pieces and Sweden with the white pieces. The Swedish school, I believe, is Lund University. Alexander Nord here. Their captain is Anders Johnson. Here playing against Gaetano Signorelli. And it looks like we have 2 minor pieces versus 1 rook. And that should be good for white. Also a significant time advantage over 10 minutes. Here we've got Carl Parker against Niccolo Orfini. Opposite color bishops. So potentially a draw. Looks like white is up a pawn. And there's some pass pawns here. So this king is a much more active piece. Yeah. Rook comes over. Rook's trying to do something, right? Maybe stir up some trouble. So, yeah, black's down a pawn, but activity is very important. So I'm not sure what's going on here. White's got a lot of time that they're using currently. The computer says it's a perfect draw, but I've seen humans mess up worse positions, myself included, certainly. Oh my goodness. Okay, there's one crazy game going on right now. This is a big blunder right here. This is an even position, and this throws it all away. And poor Daniel, captain for Cambridge, I believe. He's got no time for himself. He's hoping this is a draw, but it's not. This is so lost. So yeah, it looks like it was a fairly even game. He just gave himself no time. 21 minutes to less than 1 minute. A 20-minute advantage. Yeah, look at this, dude. Giuseppe played instantly the whole game. 35 minutes to 1.5 minutes. Trade of rooks there. Pawn push. King over. And yeah, this is a blunder for white. But black missed it. Maybe. I don't know, guys. Probably this is scary, though. So yeah, black just pushed the wrong pawn. Black needs to play f4 and keep things closed, I guess. f4 is the only drawing move. This is not easy to play at all. So he played the wrong push and just trades pawns, but the white king has a better position. So yeah, they set up the kings. A win for white. Daniel resigning. He knows he's lost. So the captain for Cambridge goes down. His teammate Connor looks to be doing well. Let's see. Bishop pair, keeping this queen at bay. Okay, I lied. I lied about that entirely. Why does the computer like white so much? Maybe I use my own brain to figure it out. Check, take, take, take. Yeah, check and take. What is this tactic? What is the material count here? We've got 3 minor pieces for both sides. 2 rooks for both sides, a queen. So white is up 1 pawn, and they have a connected pass pawn. Double here, check. So you throw away a knight to win a bishop. And now white can take here. Is that the play? Take and you're threatening push? Maybe. Maybe. What's the best move? Best move was knight to d1. Or king to e1. Knight here. Pressure on the pawn. It likes a6. Very interesting. Or a5 even. Also pretty interesting. Yeah, what happens if we do this? How bad is this? Queen e3. Bishop takes. Hmm. Maybe it's not as good for white as I thought. But yeah, plenty of chess left on that board. This game is wrapping up quite quickly. See, William Pecci versus Uno Remitz. We have queens traded. Opposite side castles. F3, bishop trade. Rook trade. Knight gets kicked around. I love white's position. I feel like I would take this way, but okay. Ooh, yeah, why not rook d6? Excuse me? Wait, why not just take the knight? Okay. Wow. Are you serious? F takes? Oh my god. En passant force? Yeah, knight takes with check, king here. And here it's saying b5. That's so ridiculous, dude. Oh my god. You could just give up everything, bro. You just sack because this is unstoppable. Oh my. Okay. But yeah, why rook d6 was not played is well beyond me. Now, I mean, really, dude? This is so sad. He played king f4 here. He's got a minute, I guess. He's low on time, but I don't know, guys. Why not? Why not rook d6? It's so sad. It's so sad to have such a good position and then you just throw it all away. Like, oh, look at these ugly pawns. It's not over, but it is sad to have what you could have had and to have what you currently have and knowing that there's a significant difference. It breaks my heart, you guys. The position was so beautiful. Okay, it's okay. I'll get over it. Okay, yeah, this game we already saw. Um, this game, the FIDE Master is about to lose. So yeah, we saw. Okay, this is a problem, I guess. Sack, bishop in, takes. Ooh, ooh, blunder. Why would you do that as opposed to moving this guy? I don't know. He's low on time. I guess you're in check. So that's fair. Yeah, I mean, the International Masters is fighting for their life right now. But unfortunately for them, they have 20 seconds and are down a bishop, which they blundered. I feel like right here. Like why not move the bishop somewhere? It's just a blunder, dude. It's just a blunder. I don't know. Whatever. Whatever. Unfortunate for the yeah, rook takes e7. Very nice. Very nice play, huh? Well, 11.5 minutes. He's using it. This guy, Tommaso, less than 30 seconds to 6 minutes. We're getting to the point where it's all time scrambles. The clock is getting low. Ooh. What's going on in Chris's game? Chris had like no time. He's just walking his king up. Here, you should just take. And he does. And now, oh, Chris has the black pieces. Chris has 20 seconds to 8 minutes. Ranesh. Okay, Ranesh brings the king back to be defensive. So yeah, white is up a pawn, but black has an extra knight. So the knight doesn't have much, I guess. You can get checked, or no, the knight's defending this pawn. This is the problem. Chris is trying to get the knight out. So he's got this cool idea. If takes takes, you hit the rook. If the rook takes the pawn, you're getting forked. So this is nice. Chris is finding it with low time. Rook swings over now and attacks the G pawn. But now maybe you take on D5, which he has. Now you can bring your king up. Oh, it likes king F7. Oh, that makes sense. This pawn's not hanging. Chris has freed his king and his knight. He's doubled isolated his pawns, but the piece activity is going to be worth it. So now the bishop retreats, keeping the rook out of the corner as well. This is a passed pawn, but it's going to be hard to bring it through. So Chris should slowly but surely convert this. It's just he's in time pressure. If this, we'll have this. Presumably. Knight gets that tempo. Watch out for this. The rook cannot go to either of these two squares. So the rook has to retreat or go here. Seven and a half minutes. All right, rook comes home to c1. Knight check nonetheless. King's probably going to guard the b pawn. Maybe you put pressure on that b pawn. Just saying. That or you go here. Okay, he goes here. And he's threatening a trade. I mean, probably you don't want to take the bishop, but trading is good in general. I think. Also, like pawn push, probably good as well. Get rid of your doubled pawn. We're rooting for you, Chris. At least I am. USA versus England, the UK. I wonder how their teammates are doing. Yeah, we saw Adolfo beat Sasha quickly, so that's already a point for Harvard. There's a game that's not showing up, so I have no idea what's going on there. And Emily is losing to Lucas, which we've seen earlier. Although now both players seem to be low on time. Emily even more so. But yeah, Emily gave away a pawn here and lost the A pawn and is down a pawn. Trading queens declined, accepted. I mean, Emily's the one that's down a pawn, so that's kind of an interesting strategy. But okay. Oh, that's another pawn. Oh, for the G pawn. Okay. Trading pieces. Yeah, I mean, very comfortable end game for black, you know. Why not? This is going to be a problem. So the king defends. Pawn push at any point. I guess the knight can come here. It's a good bishop. Controlling the whole board, really. Right? It's keeping these pawns at bay. So where do we keep our eyes? I think we watch Chris's endgame. I feel kind of bad for Giuseppe wins. So yeah, Daniel lost in time pressure. That pawn, king and pawn endgame. And then it looks like his teammate Connor's losing here as well. So what happened here? We thought maybe it was going to be good for white. And when I say we, I mean me. Check, check, take. Ooh. Ouch. Queen can't take because you get mated in one move. Yeah, this is an unsafe king and a bad bishop. So yeah, queen over. But I mean, look at all this. 2 minutes to 1.5. Connor Clark. Now they did had one teammate, Aaron Saunders, win, but it looks like they'll probably lose this match, or at least it's 2 points to their opponent. Is there a page with all the games? Yes. Exclamation point Alma. And there you have it. Hello, Greek GG. Welcome in. There's a check. Don't block with the bishop because you're gonna lose that bishop. You're actually gonna get mated. These pieces are so strong and this king is so weak. So you have to move the king. Or you block with the queen. But your sorrows don't end there. You can see there's not that many games left. There's a lot of movement in the playing hall. And yeah, when this round ends, there's only one remaining round, the ultimate last round of the event, the round that will determine the winner, and that will be at 2:30 in the morning my time, which is 3:30 in the morning Eastern time. And if you're on the West Coast, you can stay up late past your bedtime for a 12:30 a.m. round start, and that will be covered once again by Matt, aka Houseline. Shout out to Houseline, you did a great job. I made sure to tune in for a little bit at 3:30 my morning, and yes, he will be returning once more um, to cover the end of it all. So shout out to Houseline. If you guys haven't followed him already, you should have. But it will also be covered on the Collegiate Chess League channel once again. Okay, so we have a blunder here. Queen c3. Look at check this out. Here he needs to play king e1, but it's mate in 19 regardless. So queen block, queen b3, king here, queen here, and now the rook is hanging. But also here it's just mate in 1. So if the king goes here, that's also mate in 1, by the way. So very nice mate. Connor Clark unfortunately loses for, I believe, Cambridge. Let's check on this game. There was a couple of moves that I saw the eval bar didn't agree with. So rook and knight versus rook and knight. The rook is infiltrating. White's shuffling. Takes a pawn, trades. Things seem to be holding on by a thread. What was the mistake? King here was the mistake. Why? Because of king f5, and you can't defend that pawn anymore. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Okay. So that was a missed opportunity. Push. Why not f4? Yeah, f4 played. So this should be a draw. This this knight doing a good job boxing out the king. This knight can't go here, here. Can't go here. So maybe you try to go this a ways. And then the knight goes here. Then we go here. So, I don't know. Anyways, should be a draw. Oh, I should have been keeping an eye on so Chris won his game against Renesh. So yeah, we saw all of this. Check, push, and here, and we see the resigns. Okay. Yeah, a good game from Chris. Getting a win for Harvard over Cambridge. And so I think Harvard should win that match. They have 2 out of 2 on the top 2 boards. This game never had any moves relayed, so I don't know what's going on with that game. But Emily's losing in her game, though, so Cambridge will get at least a point on the board. So that third game is really important, and I don't know what happened there. So I will show you guys the format again. We've got basically 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and 0 for a loss. Yeah, the location is beautiful. The venue is really great. It's in the school library at University di Bologna in Italy. So, really awesome opportunity. Knight back and just squandered. Oh, man. Where else does the knight go, though? I guess you have to go here. Or, I mean, there was a check. You could have gone here, maybe. But you're just getting rocked by the rooks. A rook death, if you will. So, Yeah. Nice play. Rook takes f4. Every black piece is just putting in some effort. Knight comes back to defend the pawn, but of course that was not a safe square. So in time pressure, Emily blunders another piece. Well, I guess not another piece, but down already a pawn and no king safety. Resigns here. So current score between Harvard and Cambridge is 2-1. That fourth and final game, I don't know if we'll ever get a result for that. So let's check in with our Turkish players. This game, both players less than a minute. Rook and pawn versus a rook should be a draw. But we saw rook and bishop end up winning against a rook. But I don't see how white could make progress here. This rook cuts the king off, and this king guards the pawn. So the rook has to defend the pawn. The king can never defend the pawn because of this rook. So if we ever try to check, then the pawn will be lost. Let's look at the next one here. Both players also under a minute. And we've got an imbalanced bishop versus a knight. We've got an isolated d-pawn and a question mark move. The computer wanted queen to g5 check first and foremost. Immediately taking allows this move f6, guarding this check. So white probably should have considered the check first, or even knight e7 check actually as well. King to f8, and then knight to f5, threatening mate in 1 would have been beautiful. Yeah, h5, good move to just stir up trouble, but now they're all messing up. So okay, this is a check. It's winning for white if they take. They did not take. Now f6, keeping the queen at bay. So it's a draw again with perfect play, but neither player has a lot of time. 36 seconds for Denise from Turkey. Now we see the bishop capture, but you kind of lose a tempo. Your king you could have done this earlier, but that's okay. All right, knight gives another check. The king comes down, attacking the knight. Knight moves back. This pawn's defended by the queen, mind you. So what would you guys do here? Okay, the pawn was hit, so the knight is now hit. And now the knight should move back. Otherwise, you're going into no man's land. So knight d6. No, the knight decides to go to no man's land. And now the computer likes g5. g5 played. This pawn is not hanging because we have the fork, the family fork of all forks. So your f pawn is hanging, and then the queen wants to join the party, really. So how would you defend this pawn? It's not easy. And you have less than 20 seconds. This could be an exciting finish. Pawn takes. This is GG. After queen takes, presumably our knight will join in on the fun. It's saying it's forced mate. Queen f6 check. Looks awfully good. Queen f6. Let's see. I mean, I'm not quite. Yeah, there's gonna be some problems, some problemas. So queen f7, check, maybe. Queen h8, queen g8, takes, and then can you just push? Is that really it? Yeah. Queen h8, trade queens, push the d pawn, call it a day. 15 seconds. Wrong check. Queen e8, counter check, block, trade queens, and then the king is there. Why not put the king in the corner? Good question. Because you're low on time, so you don't know. Yeah, this was probably you realize it now. Queen h8. I mean, the only amount of time that you would be thinking there is deciding between which check to give, right? Perhaps. I mean, I don't know. Wasn't wasn't this also just a free fork? Wow, there were much better options. So that is somewhat disappointing to give the worst option. And now you have to fight tooth and nail, maybe even just to draw. I don't know. White's pawns are pretty bad. Look at just how one different check. This guy's 2079 FIDE. Ouch. Ouch. Is all I can say. That hurts too. That was a glorious opportunity missed in time pressure for Team Turkey. Where are my Turkish fans at? Okay. Black says, I have a passed pawn, and he shall run and become a she. So that's where this pawn's going. So now likes b5. Oh, black says I can make 2 pass pawns. Watch this. Oh my god. Oh my god. White's gonna be so upset. They're gonna beat themselves up. These Turkish players are not to be messed with. They gave you one chance and you blew it. And now you will be punished. Punished by the outside passed pawns. Oh my goodness. Okay, the king has to come back, but then this king can now enter. So if this king can guard this pawn, this knight can try to guard these pawns, but can the knight defend against both the pawns and the king? I don't think so. Not to mention this guy is not even. This guy's flushing the king back. This guy's got less than 10 seconds, but he's realizing that he's got an uphill battle to climb. So a4, great move, creating the passer, just taking, and this knight's gonna try to come over, but this king, it's even material, but just look at the difference of the pawns. Oh my lordy, ladies and gentlemen. Black is saying, you know what, I don't want to win. What could you do? You could do anything differently. Here allows the move king g4, they're saying. Oh my god. I mean, you could have just pushed this pawn, but okay. Oh, white doesn't want to win either. Oh my god, guys. Oh my god. Check. What's happening even? I don't know. It's so easy with the eval bar. I would lose this with either color, to be fair. So I guess the game is far from over, huh? And there's only this game. This is the last game that's happening. Can we even see it in the camera? Yeah, there's an audience that is growing. Oh my god, you guys, these guys. What is it like? D6 check? It looks knight a2. Low time. If you take, I guess you're getting promoted on. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, White's saying that I'm gonna try to check you and promote as well, but oh, there's only one move, King E8, which is so counterintuitive actually. He's played it. He's found it. Now H2 or A2 are both winning, but those are the only moves. Obviously H pawn, because you're queening next. White said they take the knight. This is what happens. You knew this was happening when you took the knight. But maybe White thought they didn't have a choice. There was a choice. But now you've committed. And now you must. I mean, dude, props to this guy. King E8, he finds it. King E8. And now you get one pawn check. And that's it. Now you're in Black's dojo. It's time to get your salad tossed. You're gonna get rocked. Any queen check, yeah, and that's GG, bro. Oh my goodness. Oh my word. Cosimo, man, you had Queen H8. I don't know what to tell you. You had it. You had it, and then you threw it all away. It's brutal stuff. It's brutal out here, man. This is resigns. This is put the king here and then put the other king here and then shake hands. And yeah, I think there you see the handshake actually. So yeah, and if not, the clock hits 0. So man, great game for the Team Turkey. Let's see how their other players did. So it looks like Turkey's top board lost. Their second board won. This player won, and their other player lost. So it was a draw, a tie, 2-2. But in a very important game here, this could have been the difference between drawing or losing the match, because White did have a chance to win with Queen H8 check, forcing the queen to block on G8, trade, putting the king on G8, and then this pawn was promoting. The king could not have stopped it. I could take us back to specifically show you all. It was at this moment, basically, White pushing through with G5. This is really a bad move for Black. The knight needed to come back to help defend, keeping material in the center of the board. This king is a bit weak because of this queen and knight and these pawns. So after this move, G5, the best move is F5, trying to keep things closed. Instead, we see the capture, which loses to queen takes, king here, queen f6, queen block, and now the very key move, queen to h8, winning, forcing the block. The king cannot run, so the queen has to block. We can trade queens, and now the only winning move, d6, because the knight guards the promotion. The king cannot enter and prevent the queening. This knight also cannot get back in time. If the knight was on d6, well, guess what? The pawn can't go there. So knight d6 was a key move. It would have helped, but White unfortunately did not find queen h8, nor did they find queen d6, which would have been a free knight as well. So there were many opportunities missed here. Even queen h6 wins. You look at all of your checks available to you. of which there are at least 4, right? Trading queens is not good. So yeah, it's crazy. There were 4 queen checks, all of them winning except for one, and that was the one that Cosimo played and cost his team the match. Went from a win to just a draw. Okay, that was the end of round 4. So thank you all for watching. I will send you all off on a raid, but stay tuned tomorrow. There's the last round, which will be covered on the Collegiate Chess League channels, as well as Matt's channel, which is at twitch.tv/houseline. I'll give a shout out to Matt. So please be sure to go check him out and show him your love and support. He did a great job for round 3, and he will be back to finish things off in round 5, the ultimate round. That is going to be at 3:30 a.m. Eastern time, which is 12:30 a.m. Pacific. Probably a lot of Americans will not be watching, but some degenerates like myself may be tuning in. But hopefully we have a European audience that's interested in checking it out and maybe rooting for some of their favorite teams. And as one final reminder, you guys, from myself at least, the Collegiate Chess League, we have our season starting very soon. In fact, the registration deadline is in 5 days. That's later on Thursday. So if you are a university student, please be sure that you are registering and you too can compete in university competitions. It's free to join, and we give out $50,000 in cash prizes every school year. It is open to anyone of any rating from any country. Last year we had over 30 countries competing, over 20 divisions, the lowest division with a team average rating below 800, chess.com Blitz. So it really is open to anyone. It's completely online. And we're hoping maybe we could have in-person finals at venues as beautiful as this. So I'll leave you all with that. Stay tuned for the raid. We're going to find someone. And thank you all for being here. Appreciate it, and hope to see you back again in round 5. Have a great weekend. Take care, everyone.